Hello and welcome to another episode of Analog Insights. So this is the second iteration of personal exposure, and I've collected topics for the last couple of months and hope it's interesting to you. I'd like to start with basically street photography and the concept of the beginner's mind. And I came to that when I recently, or not so recently, visited Milan for the Salone del Mobile and did some street photography there with my Leica M6, shooting mostly black and white film. And doing that and seeing how I used my camera and how much film I was shooting, I realized, looking especially at the results afterwards, but also on site, that something feels different, that I'm basically looking at the world here with fresh eyes because I'm in a different city that I've never visited before. And that I, of course, have my skills at hand, but that I'm using them in a different fashion. So sometimes really focusing rather sloppy and quickly and just taking the shot, which I would normally not do when going out for a photo walk or street photography here in Munich. And thinking about it, I had to think about this concept of the beginner's mind that most people know from maybe meditation, and that originally comes from Zen Buddhism, and there is called Shoshin, and which describes that with a beginner's mind you basically see many possibilities, as opposed to the expert's mind where you only see few possibilities. And usually I find myself kind of having a certain expectation about my own photography and expecting myself to have that expert mind and to do certain things and to not do other things. And being in a different city and just taking shots basically, and not having that expectation so much, and not really having that kind of clear distinction between what I'm doing and what I'm not doing. So for me it was basically a mixture of tourist shots, street photography, and just having fun with my camera and taking a fresh look at my surroundings and see what I can discover. I realized, okay, this is basically the beginner's mind. This is not really thinking about the few possibilities, but actually looking for the many possibilities and just going with them. And my main takeaway was that whenever I do street photography in the future, I would try to remind myself of that, to look for the beginner's mind, to get into that mindset first, and then just go with the flow and shoot what I'm seeing and what I like, and be inspired by my surroundings and kind of blend in with my surroundings instead of thinking so hard about it and bringing out that expert mind and with all the expectations that come with it sometimes. The next topic that I want to talk about is related to camera collectors. And here I have to talk a little bit more about the context. The context is that I recently got interested in watches, so luxury watches, and for various reasons I stumbled upon the magazine HODINKEE, which is both an online magazine but also has a great YouTube channel, and also has a wonderfully made print magazine that that only appeared, I think, 4 times so far. And looking up online, I also looked at the back issues and then decided I'd be very interested in 2 particular ones. So I ordered the 2nd edition and the 4th edition. And here in the 2nd edition, there's a wonderful article that is, of course, inspired by the watch context, because there are a lot of watch collectors out there. And HODINKEE even has beautiful YouTube videos where you can see celebrities talking about their watch collections that they've acquired, sometimes out of passion, curiosity, and sometimes just because it's a really good investment for money. And they talk about this collection and what they feel about certain watches and what they do with them. And of course it makes sense for HODINKEE magazine to also look at other potential collectors. So they also look at car collectors, and here in this case they portrayed a camera collector and his collection of Leica cameras. So it's all about the Japanese collector Hitoshi Tsujimoto, who is the founder of the Real McCoy, so the fashion brand that is very much about American style fashion. And he tells this beautiful story of how he, over the years, got one of the arguably one of the finest, one could say, Leica camera collections with over 1,000 cameras that are all stored in a concrete building in Kobe. He basically has certain cameras that are still in their completely original packaging, and that he'd only x-rayed once to double check whether they actually contain what they should contain. And he has wonderful rare editions, sometimes also ones where I would say, okay, they're not visually pleasing, but it's still interesting to have them. Sometimes military editions that are, of course, really rare and popular among collectors. And at first I thought, okay, this is the typical collector guy, kind of differentiating mentally between the users of cameras and then the collectors. And then reading through the article, I quickly realized, okay, no, this is not true. He's actually one of the users as well, and a user who then tells the story of how he first acquired his first Leica in 1984. In Paris, and basically had a really hard time focusing the camera at first and getting his exposure right, and actually had to pay people on the streets just to stand still for him and let him take their portrait. And you can really see how fascinated he was and how hooked he was from the beginning with Leica M cameras, and how this kind of lasted a lifetime, this passion, or lasts a lifetime ongoing. And he really acquired an incredible collection of Leica M cameras, but also some of the earlier Oscar Barnack screw mount rangefinders. So I can highly recommend this article in the HODINKEE magazine, edition 2 or volume 2. Highly recommend the article and also the beautiful images that you get of some of the cameras. But it also brought me to the thought of what exactly drives a collector. What is it? And if any of you is a camera collector, I would love to have a conversation with you, maybe even here in front of the camera. So please, if you are a camera collector, please feel free to reach out to me via Instagram or here via YouTube. You can also find my email address and just send me a message. I would really, really appreciate it to sit down with you and talk about your passion for collecting cameras and get a better understanding of what exactly drives people to collect cameras. The next issue is kind of related to the channel and related to the background here. Some of you might have noticed that there used to be kind of a light gray couch, and now there's a dark brown couch. And the reason for that is that I recently got the beautiful vintage Rolf Benz couch that my grandmother used to own, and that was still stored at my aunt's place. And Jules was kind enough to drive all the way out there to my aunt's place with me and to get this couch here to my place in Munich. And it's a couch from 1976, so basically a wonderful time, in my opinion, a wonderful era where a lot of great 35mm cameras were also produced. Some of my favorites, actually, if I look at some of the Contax cameras and the Minolta cameras that I also have. And what is interesting is it's the very same aunt who worked at Carl Zeiss most of her life, and from whom I also got the Contax RTS, which we have featured here on the channel before, and where I also shared the story about my aunt working at Carl Zeiss and how I got this camera. And now it feels like the couch is coming home, and it's complementing this 1970s place here, and fits perfectly in here. And that's the story about the new background. And the last thing that I wanted to talk about is all about an exhibition that is currently going on here in Munich, and that is the Saul Leiter retrospective in the so-called Kunstfoyer here in Munich. And it started in the mid of June, and it will last. The exhibition will take place until the September 15th, I think. And I can highly, highly recommend it. Saul Leiter, as most of you know, is kind of the pioneer of color photography. In many ways, in the States at least. And he originally was an abstract expressionist, so a painter, and had exhibitions with people like Willem de Kooning, and was then discovered by people like Edward Steichen, who ensured that he would be would have his early color work shown at the MoMA at a time when most people thought of color photography not really as an art form, but mostly reserved for advertising. So that was what color photography was, of course, used first and heavily embraced by. And then you had people like Edward Steichen outlining or drawing people's attention to people like Saul Leiter, who, if you look closer at his images and if you know that he has a background in abstract expressionist painting, you can actually see, okay, he painted with his camera and he used especially the aperture and the in focus and out of focus areas heavily to really get great, beautiful bokeh color mixtures and out of focus areas that really feel like abstract paintings in some senses. And personally, I also felt kind of caught by the fact that in many ways shooting street photography on black and white film, of course it makes sense, but sometimes it's simply a shortcut. Because what he's doing here, not just waiting for the right decisive moment that we talked about so much in the last episode of Personal Exposure, where we talked about Henri Cartier-Bresson, he's not just waiting for this decisive moment, but he is also waiting for this decisive moment where the colors match and where you suddenly get beautiful color compositions as well, where the colors either match perfectly or they complement each other in a wonderful fashion. And I can highly recommend this retrospective, which is at least, if you can believe what the Kunstfoyer itself states, one of the biggest that has been there about Saul Leiter so far, where they really made an effort of collecting all of his work, or a lot of his work. And as is common for them, they also put it out presented it in a beautiful fashion with huge quotes on the walls, great descriptions that come along with the wonderful prints of these images. So if you're in Munich or anywhere in the area in the next months, please check out this wonderful exhibition at the Kunstfoyer about Saul Leiter. So these are the topics for today. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Personal Exposure. If you did, please remember to also leave me a comment in the comment section below, and please also provide feedback if you don't like this at all, if this does not add any value to you from your perspective. Me kind of sharing my thoughts about photography and sometimes insights, and maybe also thoughts that are still in the process of maturing and getting somewhere. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please remember to like it and maybe even share it with your friends. And if you want to see more videos like this, please subscribe to our channel. Jules, Greg, and I really appreciate each and every subscriber coming our way. Thanks for watching. I hope to see you soon. Bye.